Hi everyone, back to this episode of the Weekly Pour. Today we are in the kitchen because that's where I happen to be getting ready for football season for my son. So we are going to try the Notre Dame. She is a local winery here in Windsor, right up the road actually from where we live. This is a, what are we doing, 2020 Chardonnay. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is all the fire zones as far as fire hardening. There's all these new rules. If you are in a fire zone or if you do a natural hazard disclosure as a seller and your house is in a fire zone, there's these forms that you are required to, by law, to present to the buyer. So let's drink a little Notre Dame Chardonnay. Cheers. If you're in Windsor, make sure you stop by and try her winery. Very nice lady. So anyway, so as far as fire hardening goes, so here's kind of in a nutshell. If you want more specifics, give me a phone call. We'll talk about it more one-on-one. So basically, if your home is in a high fire area, which a lot of the homes here in Sonoma County are because of all the fires we've had in the recent, I don't know, say 7 years. So if your house is in a high fire area, you are required by law to get an inspection. So I'll give you an example. I did one. I had a listing out in Calistoga and it was required to get one of these inspections. Because I am kind of a little bit different, I like to have my listings prepared. I like to tell my seller, okay, your home is in a high fire zone. This is what we're going to have to do. You're required to do it. You don't have to do the recommendations that the inspection company tells you. So say CAL FIRE comes out, they do the inspection and they give you a list. If you're lucky and you've kept your house, you've done everything they've said and your house doesn't have any issues, they can check it off and say, there's no requirements that need to be done. But if there is issues and say there's brush touching the house or things touching the roofs or whatever CAL FIRE has on the checklist that you don't meet the requirements, they're gonna check a box and you are required as the seller to disclose it to the buyer, and you have two choices. You can either fix it for the buyer, or you say, no, I'm not fixing it. I did the report. Here's the report. Now you, as the buyer, who will be the new owner, has 6 months to comply with CAL FIRE and fix these items that have been disclosed and are required to be addressed. So I want you to know, as a seller, you do not have to fix them, but you do need to get the inspection to let the buyer know what the problems are that they are going to be taking on as the new homeowner. If it's some small items, yes, I would probably recommend that you just fix them for the buyer so there's no issues and you give them basically a clean bill of health. I mean, if it's a lot of things and you don't want to deal with it, maybe you do a little reduction in price just to have the new owner deal with it and take on the responsibility because you just don't want to deal with it. So again, these are all things that you can negotiate and talk about. We can talk about them one-on-one, but if you are in a high fire zone, you have different requirements than a seller that lives in an area that has, on the natural hazard report, if you have there's two boxes. If you're in high fire zone or extremely high fire, there's stuff you have to do that a person that doesn't live in a fire zone will not have to do. So that's why a lot of buyers, I have a buyer right now, $2 million range, wants a really nice home, but she will not live anywhere that has to do with these fires. Well, that's a little difficult in this area. Yes, it's possible, but it just limits to where I look for her. So just make sure if you are a buyer or seller, you're aware if your house has been affected by a fire or not. You're just in a zip code where now you are deemed, in that zone where you are in a hazardous fire zone. You will have specific things that will have to be done because your house is in that zone. And as a buyer, you're going to take on those things. So if you have more specific questions, give me a call, let me know, send me a DM. I'd be happy to answer them. I'd be happy to refer you people that can give you more in depth. Obviously, I do not work for natural hazard disclosures or anything like that. Just kind of giving you a little nutshell of how it works if you are in a high fire zone. And there's a lot more in depth. I'm just trying to keep it quick because I don't want the video to run on and on, because reels only go 3 minutes. Otherwise, they only go to your followers. If you go beyond 3 minutes, they won't go to your followers. So if you didn't know that, that's a little tip of advice. So if you have any questions regarding high fire zones or the reports that are needed to be done by CAL FIRE or inspection companies, give me a call. Let's chat, and we will see you next time on the Weekly Pour. And don't forget, if you are ever in Sonoma County and Windsor, Road, everyone have a great day, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Pour. Cheers!